Hey everyone, welcome to the KE Report and a company update from Graphene Manufacturing Group. I am chatting again with Craig Nicol, the founder and CEO of GMG. Company is traded on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol GMG, on the OTCQX under the symbol GMGMF. Now, Craig, look, as I promised to my listeners, we're going to do a lot of Q&A in this update. I had you on the show earlier this month to talk about developments in G Lubricants, one of the company's three divisions. But I have so many questions that we're going to go through a lot of different divisions here, getting all of your questions answered. So everyone, thanks for sending in the questions. We're going to try to get to as many of them as we can in this interview, and please keep them coming. Craig, first things first, let's talk about the recent news. March 13th, you announced a $5 million bought deal financing. Real quick, give us an overview of why the company needs this $5 million, please.
Yeah, thanks, Corey. Great to be back on. Always good to chat to you and hear the questions you have from your listeners and trying to get to the bottom of them and to help people understand our business. We've just done this bought deal. Obviously, it's got to close yet, so we don't see really any risk in closing that, but it's got to go through the motions. And that's really capital for us to expand production for sales, chiefly. And I'll talk a bit about further. But the second thing is also to bring on more salespeople around the world, which is quite exciting, obviously. And then third is to be able to look at an uplisting to a major American exchange. And, we'd hope for that to happen this year if everything goes well. But that's where we believe the end game for us. We've talked about being an Australian-American company, and we think that's the future for us and an end game for us on a major American exchange. Makes a lot of sense. And now, once this deal's closed, we feel like we'll have the money to do that, subject to everything going right, which, we've been looking at this for some time and we think that we can do this now, at the right time. So it's quite exciting, really, on a number of fronts. This injection of capital enables us to go and step up. We've got 3 products launched in the market and we need to produce more, and then looking at an increase in sales staff and obviously a major uplisting too.
Okay, we're going to address a lot of questions on the revenue aspect, where it's going to come from and when it's going to come. But first, let's address a question too. You mentioned production expansion. I had a listener send in a question that this modular graphene production plant, they believe that the plant had 20 modules and only one module is currently producing graphene. Can you talk to us about exactly, if this is correct, what the potential capacity is for the plant currently then, please?
Yeah, sure. So 0.5 ton is our current production module, and we are not focused on anything but quality and sales. So that 0.5 ton, though, in selling G Lubricant small packs, that could make us, easily $100 million per annum in revenue. So it has to be understood that we use so little in G Lubricant. It's at 0.1% or 1% in the G Lubricant, and formula goes at 0.01% in the engine oil. So the amount we use per even bottle is just 5 grams, which we're now selling for around $150 a litre at that concentration. So there's an enormous value upsell that we are able to provide because we have solutions that basically give value to our customers through those products and pricing, and then enable better savings for them. And obviously our cost of goods is much lower than those pricing. So that's why 0.5 ton, we never focused on getting the highest production capacity. We have many competitors, if you say, but they're not really competitors, graphene oxide producers who have 100 ton, 1,000 ton production capacity, but they don't make any of that because they haven't got the sales. So we've always been focused on getting quality of our graphene so you can have use as little as possible and a solution that the customer can buy. And we're really focused on solutions that companies all over the world can buy, energy saving solutions and energy storage solutions. So with this production capacity increase available from this budget, what we're working on is a production unit that can potentially go up to around 100 times production per hour than we currently are working on. So it's a step change. It's a Gen 2 technology. We'll bring out more information on it. But once we've actually locked down the price of technology, we expect to deliver that this year. And we'll announce further. But what that means is our production capacity could easily go to 10 tonne with one unit. And then our costs will go down. But now that we know what the quality of the graphene we need for each of our products, now it's a focus on getting our costs down and our capital down. And we're going to try to implement that this year, which will enable all of that. So production costs will go right down, and then capital costs will come right down as well, which is really exciting because then it's very clear we can scale even better than what we are doing now. And already we're now 70 to 90% margins across that product.
So as you said, though, it sounds like you don't necessarily need to increase capacity right now. You need to get the sales there to justify that capacity increase, but you're working so that you can bring on capacity when needed later this year, potentially?
That's right. And we're also looking at kind of tier 2 kind of graphene suppliers and seeing how we can use and mix others' graphenes in as well. Because if we can get it from somebody else, I mean, I grew up, in Korea with Shell, where you would buy all your own oil, you'd use other people's oils, and then if you can make, money out of that, well, that's what you would do, and you would sell it on. And we see ourselves like that, a downstream and upstream play. Of course, we'll always be focused on quality, and if we can find a cheaper production cost out there, because there are a lot of graphene companies out there, but they can't make the sales because they don't have the applications. Whereas we have our applications, the branding, the markets, and then also, we have our patents coming through, which we're quite confident on. So all of that together, we'll have our own production capacity building up this year, which will really enable us to show we are a very scalable production and sales system once the marketing and sales is all locked in. And then we'll also look at, a raft of different producers that we can try to buy from and use and optimize, and through post-processing, and then enable that to go into our own.
Okay, Craig, let's move on to the other news release, this energy savings projects with Singapore banks. Now, what happened here is you completed an energy savings case study with a Singapore bank. The energy savings seen was on average between 10 and 20%. Now that this case study is over, it sounds like the bank is exploring the potential to scale this application of the THERMAL-XR to their other branches. This was done in partnership, I guess, with C&W Services Singapore. Give us a background on that company and what this could then mean for revenue. It sounds like this is being taken to market now.
Yeah, so we've been working with our distributor Acmus, as well as in Singapore, as well as Cushman & Wakefield for some time. And this is a great announcement to show really good work that's happening in Singapore. And Singapore, if they don't know, is a constant 28 degrees Celsius, humid, and air conditioning is basically mandatory for pretty much most of the country. I love the country myself. I lived there for some years, and it's an amazing country. And the electricity prices are quite high, and the air conditioning use is pretty much mandatory. So what you have is a perfect case for being one of the richest countries in the world as well per capita, that you have a great case for THERMAL-XR to be rolled out. And with a brand and company like Cushman & Wakefield, which is one of the biggest property management companies in the world, it really comes together with our distributor and this product with great results. It's really got some quite encouraging potential for revenue near term, and and then growing that, obviously, because Cushman & Wakefield is one of the largest property managers in the world. So all out, it's just a note to say we've had some success, but it also, I think, signals the potential for other opportunities, which are pretty strong.
How would the commercial relationship work between the two then? Would they potentially buy in bulk and do the THERMAL-XR installation themselves? Would they contract you and you would have to do the installation? Can you give us some insights on this?
Yeah, we've got multiple ways to market, but upfront, we're basically in Singapore, we're going through a distributor, and the distributor supplies Cushman & Wakefield. But with other countries, there's other ways that can happen, which, I guess we're working through. But yeah, so they have their own services team, and, they've got the potential to take this to market themselves in different countries. And, so the opportunity to help existing property electricity costs, with electricity often being mostly air conditioning, and is generally the largest cost. And electricity costs are not going anywhere; they're going up regularly, as we all know. And so, for one of these guys, for a property manager to help their properties to reduce electricity significantly like this, it's a big outcome for everybody, including the tenant and the property owner. And that's generally, we're quite happy with this. It's taken years of work to get here, and it's scalable. It's really scalable. So, yeah, lots of opportunity, and, many ways this can go. I'm very, very excited about it.
So have they placed any orders yet? How will we know when, I guess, they start to utilize THERMAL-XR and some of the other branches?
Yeah, I think, they obviously got their own program that they're working through, and, it's obviously commercially confident. So I think you'll see it just in our revenues. That's the only way you're going to really see it. There probably won't be a big announcement to say, it's what we're doing. It's just one of many companies that are trialing our products and getting success and working through that, and to see how they can scale it. It's just one of the big companies we've been working with for some time, and it's kind of good to be able to announce this with their approval.
So Craig, let's talk revenue then. Big picture, can you give us an idea of what is currently in the market in terms of the G lubricants or the THERMAL-XR? What's being sold right now?
Yeah, so THERMAL-XR is being sold through distributors, and also we have that being sold to service companies in different parts of the world. We're adding new distributors on for that in different countries around the world. We're obviously waiting for EPA approval in America with Nicol, and that's, going through its paces. And, I think December this year is probably the last, we'd expect it to be implemented by then and getting approvals. We've already got purchase orders that'll flow through once EPA's approvals. That's already been in place. It's being reviewed by EPA. We haven't seen much difference in terms of what happens with the EPA since the change of administration in America. We're just working through with the people we've been working with. And, I think we'll see that when it happens, it'll happen. It's the definition of sovereign risk. When a government has the right to approve a product, you've got to go through it. You can't do it. But once you get it, it's a basically advantage, because everyone else has got to go through it. Now, what we've also done is, when we launched G Lubricant only a couple of weeks ago, we started selling it to basically a large truck market, a targeted focus. We have a 500 ml, half a litre pack, and that enables to be able to top up into 50 litres of engine oil. And that's basically the size of a large long-haul truck engine, and that's our target market, because we think we can save somewhere between $1,000 of fuel or up to $10,000 of fuel, depends how long the oil change is from that one pack. So it's a really big opportunity. People can buy direct. There's an enormous number of owner drivers out there, they're called. There's like 60 million people on Facebook that own or drive a truck that speak English. So the market is massive. Their ability to buy and use the product themselves is there. The savings that they will see from this product, and what we see is all the testing we've done will make them want to buy again. Now, we don't have to sell many of those to actually cover our corporate costs. In fact, it's quite a small number. Our corporate costs are kind of about 500,000 Australian dollars a month. And when you're selling something for, a couple $100, you can really see how you can sell only a few thousand of them a month, and you can actually cover all your corporate costs. But that'll be direct selling. And then we're also, got a number of very large trucking companies in different parts of the world, mainly in Australia right now, saying they'll do a demonstration trial, or actually already doing that. And, they'll then start to have, commercial sales. We'll be able to sell directly to them, and as we can already produce it. And then that would be then other revenue that will come in. What we're also looking at is, as amongst all these various different companies trialing our THERMAL-XR and now some of them trialing G Lubricant already, we're also looking at starting a small pack THERMAL-XR sales as well. So this will enable people to buy our graphene coating as a full system directly on the website and delivered to their door. We think that there's a market for that. There are people who want to use our product for all sorts of things. And, we know how to do it. We know how to do it safely. And we think that there will be a market for that. So we aim to start that up shortly as well. So there's a number of, products out there that are in sales already. That's our goal. Commercial operations was always seen to be, this year and next year, and to build them out and start the sale process on these very unique products, which really provide a lot of value for our customers. And, that's what we're doing.
So, Craig, what will come first? What will lead to significant revenue? Is it this retail focus, some of these consumer-sized products, or is it with these OEMs? We hear so much about these large companies testing out these products, but I know I get a lot of questions asking, when are we going to start to see some major revenue? It seems like that could be the major revenue, but is the consumer market big enough to, I guess, supplement that in the near term?
Yeah, look, I think what we're trying to do is build as many revenue sources and potential sources as possible. We have really unique products that the world is slowly, in my view, falling in love with, and they really want to see how they work, whether they be the biggest in the world in what they do, or single business owned, single kind of mum and pop kind of ownership of a business who could use our product. So, I would love to be able to tell you, which one of them will work more than the other. I think, my bet is that G Lubricant will be, the dark horse. I've always said that. I think I've said it a few times with you. It's an amazing product. I've been testing it with various different types of engines for some time now, for years, in fact, and we know that technology inside out. And I really feel like that will be, a great revenue build-up. The potential for, exponential sales is there. I'm not promising them, but it is there. You've got a massive market. They're really upset with their fuel costs. They're not going anywhere. It's only going up. And it's the biggest cost of their business, after paying someone to drive something. And there's really no recourse. There's no way to manage it. It's just something they suck up. And, we hope to really help them with that and then create an amazing brand and product that, creates this whole vision that we've got, which is to reduce or save energy costs for people with our products, with our graphene.
Okay, so I guess when one of these big orders comes in from a large manufacturer, that's where that potential plant capacity expansion could be used. Something I'm sure we'll talk about later on. A couple of quick questions then. Let's get to the G Lubricant questions. Does there need to be an EPA process for the G Lubricant in the US?
We think so, yes. So we'll have to go through that. It's such a low dosage, at 0.01% in final available. And, we'll be doing emissions testing shortly. And, we expect it to have quite good emissions reduction. And, we expect the graphene to be fully, if it in any way gets into the combustion chamber, it just becomes carbon dioxide or carbon monoxide, like any other carbon. And so, we expect it to be a complete net overall positive improvement for the environment, including even the emissions it takes to make the graphene and the lubricant additive. But I think that in the end, we will have to get an EPA approval. I don't know how long it'll take, but it probably will take longer than what we expect. But meanwhile, we can sell this product in every other country pretty much in the earth, what we know of. So it'll come through America in the time it needs with government approvals. But otherwise, the rest of the world, we can pretty much sell now because there's a really clear approval process in place for graphene used in small quantities otherwise.
Okay, real quick on this question then. Does the use of G Lubricant lessen the amount of oil changes that people need to get if it is mixed in?
It's an excellent question. So as a former tribologist myself or engineer working for Shell on this, there's about 5 different ways you want to change out your oil. We can help with about 4 of them, probably 3, definitely, maybe 4. The 5th one is when the diesel engine actually is full with soot which is a carbon ball. And that is the diesel engine oil's job, to take the soot away and put it into the oil. And you can be up to 5 or 8%, depends on the engine type, for the carbon or the soot to be of the oil. So it's very, very, full of soot. And, we think that if you're replacing your oil for not the soot, and you're replacing it because of the oil is burning or the oil is becoming acidic, or the metals, we could, getting too high, we could help with the extension of life. We haven't done that testing yet. It's quite a detailed piece of work. It will be, depending on why you're changing the oil out. So the simple answer is, right now we're just saying, we'll put it in, change it out with new oil, and then put it in again once the new oil comes in. And then, I wouldn't be trying to extend oil life on this alone. The amount of money we'll save, hopefully, the amount of money we save on your fuel is going to be far more than the change of oil that you'll have. But eventually, we should be able to say what the change of oil life, could look like with an additive like this in. We just don't want to, go on that basis when, we haven't done all the work.
Okay, fair enough. But Craig, look, you add G lubricant with the oil, it improves fuel efficiency. That's what the tests have shown. You can go after the retail market, the individual, you can go after some of the large car manufacturers. What about the companies that make the engine oil? Can you go to them and have it as, let's say, a premium product added into their consumer product?
Yeah, and we're certainly talking to them, as a marketer that introduced engine oils and myself, it can take 3 years for a new engine oil to get to market. And you go, even if everything is approved and it's all fantastic, it just takes time for these big machines, these big companies, some of the biggest in the world, to develop a pack, to sign off on it, to get the approvals, to get the oil mix perfect and cost understood, and then the market pricing understood, and then the launching and the campaign launch and all of that, and who you're going to sell it to first. That can take 3 years. So, we see a future in the end where basically, graphene really should be in every engine oil and every gear oil. It just should be. There's a certain type, right? Mainly ours, because ours is so small that it won't be a problem for your bearings, which is a real issue that, we see for bigger graphene flakes and also from graphite. So there's a real issue there that we can get around with our product. So, I think at some point, you'll see graphene oils come into the mass market. But, we've got to understand, these guys have been producing oils with plants that are somewhat, 30, 40, 50 years old. The capital is all sunk. It's written off. It's basically, they're just sweating assets. They're making a good lot of money. And it's generally, there's no technology that's entered a base lubricant oil market for probably 10 years. So it's really just marketing, and I hate to say that, but it is. So these guys are, they're very happy to see a new technology, but what they really focus on is marketing that their oil is better than everyone else's. And in some cases it is, and in some cases, it's pretty similar. So that's that market. They're not looking at every type of new technology and wanting to roll it out, because they're happy just telling everyone that their oil is better than everyone else's. It's a massive market. It's about a $300 billion market. Additives a year. Additives are around the $15 billion a year. But, the amount of fuel that's burnt every year is about $3.4 trillion. And, I think all of those numbers say energy efficiency is ultimately the most important thing that any of those lubricant companies can focus on. But they've got their times, their processes, and they've got their own thing they're doing right now. So all of those things put together, we've got to focus on our revenues, growing our revenues, and that's going to be through direct supply. And then these big oil companies will work with them and see what time it takes. One big problem, Corey, is that as an oil man myself, you have to have a really nice looking oil when you open it up. And the engine oil these days is this honey kind of look, and that's seen as a quality engine oil. It may or may not be high quality, but it's seen, that's the quality aspect to it. And when you add our graphene, even at 0.01%, it's black. And so that means it's a problem for perspective on a customer's point of view. And so I think, you could actually just see this as an additive. Even with the final lube, you would just see it as an additive. So the customer still sees the beautiful honey oil, then it puts the additive in themselves. So there is that one little problem at high street. The commercial guys won't, which is where most of the oils are made. The commercial guys won't care. If they can see an energy saving, that we're talking about, they won't care if it's black, purple, or whatever color. But the high street packs where people buy and change their oil out, that's still, there is an issue with color there, and that'll have to be managed as we roll it out.
Very interesting. Okay, thanks for that update. Look, this product is so interesting, especially because it seems like it does improve fuel efficiency through the tests we've seen. But Craig, I guess use that money that you're raising in that bought deal to go get it out to market. I know a lot of my listeners are thinking that. Let's just quickly get an update on the THERMAL-XR division then. Look, you mentioned the more individual retail product that you're going to be launching or that you have launched, but what else can you do here? When can we start to see some THERMAL-XR sales in some significant fashion?
Yeah, so obviously we went into this shipping to the largest market, America. We have New Calgon, which is a really amazing company. We're heavily involved with them still on all the things we're doing there, but that's slowed down with EPA. So have obviously various other countries that we're working with, and now we've had OEMs requested for the product and they've tested it multiple times. It will take some time for these big manufacturers to come on board. We are completely changing their perspective on things. And they used to think that shiny things, uncoated are the best. And now we're saying, actually, no. For heat transfer, you use our graphene coating and you'll be 9 times better heat transfer in thermal management and 2 times if you include air. So that takes time. There are engineers who have, certain views of the world, and they need to see it a number of times, and that's not small. They need, they're rightly skeptical, in this true scientific way of actually testing it. And, we see it on their faces as they're going through it. And, we're working through with those guys, and that does take time. There is, not a reasonable amount of, information out there that's starting to really build from us that we can show what we do. And a lot of demonstration projects have shown that it works. And then you get things like, air conditioning coatings working in Singapore with a very large property management company. So the evidence is building right across, and the technical ability for us to be able to sell this now is really, quite different compared to 6 months ago. We now have models of air conditioning systems, and we can share what it does for that coating, what it does for the air conditioning. The end game, what we're hopeful for is, basically an air conditioning system without a fan. And our coating, we believe, can do that. It would cut at least 20% of every air conditioner's energy costs and also make it a lot less noisy. So, that's the space we can drive to. And we need to work with the best of the best who can actually see that vision, because we're basically resetting the framework of how air conditioners can and should work in our eyes, in our modeling and our testing. And I think, there's only going to be some turkeys who vote for Christmas, if you like. They're going to take a while to be able to work through that themselves. That's not up front, but, end goal is potentially that. And it takes, the future's owned by the brave, right, Corey? These days, there's so much change happening that only the guys who really want to step up and lead will make that change. So otherwise, we'll work with people who can do little bits here and there. But that's the kind of where all those testing, that work is happening right now.
Okay, final question, Craig. I really do appreciate you taking all these questions. But in terms of THERMAL-XR, approximately how many companies in how many different industries do you have actively testing this product?
Look, I think they come and go. And, I think around 30 is probably around, a good point to talk through, a good number, around 30. There are many small companies. And, we ship product to those, but we're talking, the bigger ones, and them using it in different types of applications, not just air conditioning, but electronics, appliances, data centers. Yeah. So, and obviously, refrigeration, heat pumps, and, many different types. And, I think that is both the beautiful thing about this product, but also the problem is that it's got so many applications that we just got to keep working with those who want to work with it and that application. So we've got to change our knowledge to be able to suit what that application is about, if that makes sense. So someone comes to us and using it on a condenser coil. Well, we've got to work out how to use it on a condenser coil. But if someone comes and wants to use it on a heatsink in electronics, then we need to work with them on that. And that's definitely what we see. Every day there's at least one call where we're talking about, how we can help them with something on this and change their mind or paradigm with it, coding. And that takes time as well. So that's probably the number that I'd still stick with.
Okay. Craig, thank you very much again for addressing all these questions. Again, Craig Nicol, founder and CEO of Graphene Manufacturing Group. Everyone, keep sending me your questions. Thank you so much. It makes these interviews a whole lot more interesting, and I'll keep bringing Craig back on to update us on any of the news and also address all your questions. Craig, thank you very much for your time today.
Thanks, Corey.